All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's stream. We had an amazing SIGGRAPH, and we are here to tell you about it. If you watched the keynote, then you know we had some huge announcements, and we are going to dive in and take a look at what the Omniverse team has been working on. That's why we are very lucky to have with us Frank Delise, who is going to talk about OpenUSD, ChatUSD, RunUSD, and everything else we could think of to ask him. So get your questions and comments ready, post them in the chat, and I promise you that what you will hear on today's stream will blow your mind. But before we get started, Edmar, what do we got going on?
Wow, there's so much going on right now. Big thanks to Greer and Tim, who have been helping us cover all things SIGGRAPH while we were gone last week. And Wendy was here with the watch party. We're going to dive into that in a bit. A couple announcements from the team back at home. We have animation workflows elevated with live sync and OpenUSD support. So links to updates to the Real-Illusion iClone Omniverse connector. Productivity is boosted for creators, offering real-time previews and bidirectional workflow. We actually are planning a live stream with Real-Illusion coming up. Check our calendar. We'll be adding that very shortly. And none other than John Martin himself will be joining us, who's always a great guest. So we'll see if we can get, if you're interested in coming on, you're a Real-Illusion creator, we'd love to have you come on and show your workflow. So that's going to be coming up very soon. Let me see. And we have we've been posted this in a few places, but in case you missed it, there was a lot of action at SIGGRAPH relating to NVIDIA Omniverse. The best place to go is likely the Omniverse forums, where we have basically an announcement area where we listed all this, thanks to Amelia. But ChatUSD, which we'll be talking about today, we'll be talking more about RunUSD, but I'll cover this as well. Omniverse Platform, big updates. RunUSD, which is, like I said a minute ago, a lot of excitement for that. We're going to get into that. That's why we have some very special guests here today. And the Denza WP configurator. This is such a cool thing to check out, the car configurator. And it looks amazing. It looks, if that can be said. That is more details and links are posted on our forum page. And let me see. We have one more here, I think. Of course, my Chromebook is being really, really slow here. All right, that's not playing nicely. All right, we'll share the rest of these slides towards the end of the show because I don't want to stop the momentum here we have with all these great guests. So as Wendy said, we have an all-star cast here today. We've upped our Brady Bunch to 10. So now we have, so in addition to myself, Wendy, and Maddie, Frank Delise is here, Ashley, Jen, Paul Cutsinger, Rafi Nizam from the community, and Aaron Luck. So as you can tell, we're going to be covering a lot of things. And I think the first thing let's talk about is what we just all came back from, which is SIGGRAPH. Had an amazing time in LA. I think one of the most amazing things for me was actually meeting some of the developers and creators that have been working on OpenUSD and using the NVIDIA Omniverse platform to build extensions and apps. And I met with some people who have some great business ideas that are already kicked off with Inception. It was really, really powerful to meet some of these folks and hear their passion and introduce them to some developers and engineers at NVIDIA. We had a great time, including, speaking of OpenUSD, we had an OpenUSD day. And Maddie and Ashley and Jen, Paul, you all involved in that. What was that all about?
So we had a full room all day long, packed with 30-minute sessions about USD. So you just got back-to-back different topics about USD from NVIDIA, side effects, Adobe, CCM. It was really cool to see things that people were working on from different companies, and really seeing that we talked last week about, or the week before, about the Alliance of OpenUSD, and really seeing that coming together and in action with lots of companies working on OpenUSD and sharing their work.
Yeah, and Jennifer and Ashley, you guys were also super involved with some of those workshops and got to really like work one-on-one with a lot of developers. Is that right?
Yeah, on Sunday I did a lab for 3D scene manipulators, and it was jam-packed. There was absolutely no room for everyone to be standing. It was extra seating, and all of the laptops were filled. And yeah, it was just a really great lab, and everyone left with something to learn about. And I'm also going to post that in the chat for people, because I did hear some feedback that they couldn't access the course after they left, but it is a DLI course. So if you were at SIGGRAPH or you heard about it, it is available. So I'm going to post that in chat for everybody.
Yeah, and we actually, so if you weren't able to make SIGGRAPH, obviously, because it was in Los Angeles for any reason, we are doing a great thing, I think, and making the NVIDIA sessions available online through NVIDIA On Demand. So that should be available very shortly. If it's not already available, I'll double check. But if you are a registered developer on NVIDIA On Demand, you should have access to all this stuff. And I think it's a great resource for those who couldn't make it. The only thing that's not there is some of the workshops, but we'll keep you up to date on future upcoming workshops. We're already in full swing planning for March GTC in the spring 2024. And there's actually a call for sessions right now. So if you have a great topic you'd like to present at GTC, go to the nvidia.com/GTC page, and you'll see call for sessions, I think, towards the bottom of the page where all the information is. The other thing, it was great to hang out with some of you folks. I've been at NVIDIA a few years, and first time meeting some of you. It was really, really great bonding experience. I think not only for us to bond with the community, but to bond with each other. So for those who couldn't make it, like I said, we look forward to the next time, and we will continue to try to support as much as we can virtually, including GTC Spring. I heard this morning that we will be supporting GTC Spring virtually, even though it's on site in California. So we won't forget all the people who can't make it out there. So, all right, let's get the party started. So as Maddie said a few minutes ago, OpenUSD, Alliance for OpenUSD, AOUSD as it's known, huge news. And there was actual, real, genuine excitement among the booths and the visitors that were at SIGGRAPH last week. I had spoken to many people who were just over the moon about Apple and Pixar and NVIDIA working together with these great collaboratively to help expand. So who wants to talk a little bit about OpenUSD and the alliance there?
Yeah, Aaron, why don't you pick that one up?
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, super exciting. Glad to finally announce it. It's been a long time in the making, but it's super exciting to have the founding partners on board and together. So I will be serving as the initial interim chair of the core specification working group, which is the first official working group that is being spun up in the AOUSD. And so our mission in life for however long it takes, hopefully before the next SIGGRAPH, is to have a core specification for the core features of USD as it exists today. You see some elements in that already on GitHub from our friends at Apple in the form of a pull request that specifies what all USDA the specification from USDA, all the fields in USDA, as well as binary layouts for USDC. Internally as well, we've also have a USDA grammar doc that we've been working on that we're looking to collaborate with AOUSD with. That spun out of our efforts to get UTF-8 prim name support into USD. So there's sort of a lot of efforts that were already in flight that now we can sort of like harmonize together under the AOUSD umbrella, such that USD has a path to formal specification that becomes a standard that is internationally recognized in all the industries that are building technologies on top of it.
Yeah, I think it's super exciting, obviously, because when you have official recognition by these great partners and more growing, I think developers can feel a little safer working in that area. And we saw a lot of companies right now that are super excited about, okay, they're just waiting for like, what's the right point to jump in and invest in addition to the other ones we already have. So it's clear that there's a huge momentum on this now. And it's also, in my eyes, it seems very unstoppable. And as we're seeing by the growth of the ecosystem of apps that are compatible with NVIDIA Omniverse, I think it's a super exciting time. And for our developers and creators out there, I think it's a super exciting time for you, because I think it's a great opportunity to leverage your experience and start helping people who might not have that experience right now. I think there's a great opportunity for contracting, consulting, creating assets and stuff for people who are really want to jump on board, but maybe do not have the background knowledge set and expertise to do that. But you folks have been with us for a while here. So you definitely are. And obviously, you can always look for support from us on not only in the forums if you have any bugs, but on the Discord server and along with all the resources we have on our developer portal. We actually just released, I don't know if someone can grab the link, but we just released a pretty significant update to the USD developer portal. I don't know if it was posted a second ago in the chat, but if not, we'll post it now. But that is fantastic. And I know Aaron and Maddie, you both worked on this with a bunch of people, right?
Yeah, I could talk a little bit about that and hand it off to Maddie to talk a little bit more. But yeah, we really wanted to sort of take the first steps towards really mapping out the developer journey for people new to USD, especially people who have domain expertise from other areas and probably are like they're familiar with USD concepts, they just don't know it yet because they might go by other names in other industries. So we really wanted to level set that with a really nice narrative arc for developers in navigating the documentation. Maddie in particular kicked off a really great sort of guided learning set of tracks there that really walks people through concepts to getting hands-on and that kind of stuff. We have example data sets in there now with some really nice write-ups that walk through the folks that created those data sets, their creative decisions into why they structure things in certain ways. And we have one for architecture and one that's more M&E style. So it just goes to show there's no one right way to structure assets, and USD it really depends on your needs. And so along with that, we also published a white paper in this new docs portal that are the principles of structuring assets in USD. So it's not saying you have to do things in a certain way, but it's walking you through like, okay, what does it mean for an asset to be legible? And by legible here, we mean it can be correlated back to the source data from which it was exported. That's super important for folks in the industrial space, right? But how do you trade that off against performance, for example, where it's like, okay, if everything's super legible, but you end up with 10 million prims, how do you mitigate that, right? So it's a really like breakthrough white paper that I think is going to really spark conversation around conventions going forward, and really helps sort of again level sets these conventions between sort of the traditional M&E asset structures in USD and these burgeoning new industrial ones that are coming out of a lot of the connectors that we've helped foster in the ecosystem.
That's all. Within minutes that I posted that update when it went live, we got feedback from the community on Discord saying, "Whoa, these look great, especially example data sets." So I'm glad you mentioned that. So lots of happiness out there, and congratulations to everybody who worked on it. A lot of work went into it, as you said, and will continue to work. Let me see. So why don't we just before we start diving into some of the USD stuff we talked about at SIGGRAPH, I wanted to let everybody know that Rafi's here because Rafi, speaking of OpenUSD, has been just super active online in the community talking about the benefits of OpenUSD and workflow and collaboration. Rafi, thanks so much for joining us today. Really exciting, and so glad to see that you're able to use this to your workflow right now with the production of Art Squad. And people who may not know Rafi from previous live streams, Rafi, we're very grateful to have him as an Omniverse ambassador for the community because he's got a wonderful imaginative mind, very, very skilled. He's a super humble, so he won't tell you he's very technical, but he is. Rafi, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now? Because you told me about a super exciting project.
I mean, what else is there to say? You've kind of said everything, Edmar. I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. No, I'm very humbled and grateful to be here on this live stream. What OpenUSD and Omniverse's implementation of it has done for me as a creator is kind of astounding in a lot of ways because before this sort of standardized format of USD, I found it really, really difficult to navigate the 3D application landscape. Every app has its proprietary format, and unless you're really deep into it, the technical knowledge of UV formats and different kind of bit depth of different images and stuff, as you can tell, I'm not that knowledgeable. Unless you have that baked-in knowledge of every app, you frequently find that you lose data or your stuff doesn't look consistent as you move between apps. So when Omniverse came on the scene a few years ago, I started exploring it and found that not only does it grease the wheels and make the whole process a lot simpler, it actually advanced my capabilities. It didn't just simplify the process for me, but actually supercharged it. So what I've been doing is I've been using primarily the ecosystem that it's built out to make all the other apps easier for me to use. Like Substance Painter is much easier for me to use because I know exactly how to export it to one format, and Omniverse helps me transfer it to Unreal Engine and to Maya and keep everything in sync. And working in real time has really been transformative. So yeah, I'm making an animated show for children using this, but obviously, media entertainment is only one sector here, and animation is only one use case within it. I can see this interoperability and live updates across formats being relevant to any 3D workflow.
And it's put so well. As you can tell, Rafi's very articulate on this. And Rafi, you're also lending your time and expertise to something for a great cause that would be great to mention right now if we can, really quick. And then we'll talk afterwards, because I just found out about it this morning, how we can help you.
Sure. Okay. Really quickly, I pitched an idea to an accelerator program called the IBC Accelerator Program. It's an annual program in the broadcast industry. And my idea was sick children in hospitals who don't get a chance to go out to theme parks and enjoy theater or interactive stuff with cartoon characters. I thought, what if we could use our I run a story studio. So what if we could use my expertise as a storyteller, as someone who creates animated worlds, to entertain these children who otherwise, have a linear screen. Maybe they've got Netflix or something to watch, but they don't have an interactive, more dynamic way of being entertained. And arguably, perhaps they're the kind of people who need that sort of thing the most, the kind of distraction. So what I've been doing is I've been using the Omniverse USD infrastructure to pull together all my different tools in an Unreal environment and create essentially what I would call a glorified real-time puppet show, a 3D puppet show. So a live animated show that those children can have, beamed into a screen or a stage in the hospital ward, and they can have a conversation in real time with an animated character that doesn't look like a video game. It looks like a high-end show with Omniverse's render, you can get something that looks awesome. So that's what I'm working on right now, and I'm really excited about it because it's not looking for a commercial product or anything. I just want to see if we can make a difference to the lives of children who need this the most using all this cool tech we have. Let's see if we can do something that really moves the needle for them. So that's what I'm working on right now, and it'll be showcased hopefully later this year at the IBC event.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful. I definitely want to chat with you after this. We'll see how we can help, because that seems like an amazing project. Really happy to have you here, and feel free to interrupt at any point when we're talking about all this stuff, because your viewpoint is so great, especially coming from the community perspective as a great creator out there. So really happy to now talk with Aaron for a bit. Let's dive into, it sounds like a rap group, but it's not. It's Run USD. So for those who are interested in one of the great announcements we had last week, that has definitely generated a lot of excitement, along with ChatUSD, which we'll talk about a little bit, I think. But Aaron, what is? I assume it's not a rap group. What is Run USD all about?
Yeah, it's just the I could say it's just the start of something bigger. So right now, Run USD is available as a demo, a proof of concept in a website on developer.nvidia.com/usd/validator, that anyone can go and register for our new USD developers program and try it out for themselves. And what it does right now is you can upload USDZs to the cloud. It will then get processed by Omniverse and streamed back as in a live RTX viewport, along with running the USD checker rules from Pixar to validate that the content is compliant with the current validation rules for USD. This particular functionality we found was super important when we upgraded Omniverse to USD 22.11 this year. USD is so rapidly evolving, especially in the materials, the shading and the lighting space, that content that was created a year or two ago may need some tweaks in order to render properly in newer versions of USD. And there are scripts to do this, and that's all great. But we recognize that there are lots of content libraries out there, and there's going to be lots and lots of more USD exporters being written as more connectors get written and things like that. So both content creators, but as well as developers who are writing these exporters, really need something like a validation service to be able to validate the results of their own creations as well as their exports, things like that. They're going to want to do it potentially across multiple versions of USD because different devices may be running different versions of USD. So anyone who wants to maximize the compatibility of their content or of their exporter, this Run USD is just a start for them. So yeah, this is sort of our first foray into migrating more and more of what Omniverse offers in terms of USD functionality into the cloud, right? So validation is kind of the first step. There's a lot more room to grow in validation, right? USDZ is sort of the canonical base case because all of the content is archived into atomic USDZ file, right? Beyond that, we'll look at supporting what I'm calling sandbox USD, right? Where it's like you have an entry point for the USD, but all of the layers and textures are relative to that USD, and they don't have to be like queried from some other cloud provider or Nucleus or what have you, right? And then from there we grow more towards like supporting fully arbitrary USD, in which a vendor can also provide their own asset resolver plugin and run that in the cloud as well, right? And then beyond validation, right, there's all sorts of other scene graph kernels that you might want to run in the cloud. Conversion is another one. So, and optimization, right? So you can imagine a full pipeline running in the cloud, right, where from the user's perspective, they push a button, their source content gets slurped up in the cloud, converted to USD, optimized, validated, and then basically made ready for any downstream consumer to then pull that content into their own assemblies, into their own references, and what have you. So this Run USD is we're starting like pretty humble for now, but it's going to grow until you can basically develop all sorts of custom pipelines in the cloud for any sort of USD processing that you want.
That is awesome. What a huge, great service to people. And I think, Jen, you're working on a rap song to help debut this. I know. No, I'm just kidding. Jen on the spot. And Aaron, we probably can't mention Run USD without the other thing we talked about, which is not out yet, but Chat USD. And if we just briefly talk about that and what that is, because that's super exciting as well.
Yeah, Chat USD. Yeah. I have to admit, I've kind of been kind of a convert to this whole this kind of coding co-pilot thing. I think I've always been a little bit more of a Luddite in terms of code. Like I'll write my own code. I don't need anybody to help me, kind of thing. But we had a really interesting experience while we were putting together the keynotes. I think you saw earlier the Denza car configurator demo, right? So when you're configuring cars or products or whatever in USD, oftentimes you're switching variants, right? And when you're switching variants, you can trigger some heavy invalidations inside of USD in certain cases. And so one of our developers, Alois, was looking to optimize this for the configurator, and he was noticing that variant switching was taking a little bit longer time than he expected. So he wanted to try different things to sort of get to the root of the problem. So he fired up Chat USD and he was like, okay, I wonder if subdivision services are being retested every time I switch the variant. And so he prompts the Chat USD, find me all the subdivision services on the stage. Please write me a script that finds all the subdivision services on the stage that have their subdivision scheme that not set to none, because if it's not set to none, that it'll have to retesselate, right? And to his surprise, it wrote a pretty good script for him that he was able to run, find and optimize the scene accordingly. Now, Alois is he's been working with USD for years. He's very much an expert. He's very capable of writing that script himself. But by using Chat USD, he was able to focus on the problem at hand, which is how do I optimize this scene? The problem at hand was not how do I find all the subdivs, right? So he was able to try lots of things with ChatUSD and keep his mind space like in the problem solving space. And I think that's where a coding copilot really comes in handy. And yeah, that's why I'm a convert for these kind of coding workflows now. And I hope it's also super cool that ChatUSD is just as helpful to experts as it will be for newcomers onboarding with USD as well.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's very cool. I think a lot of people are been pinging us on Discord. When? So we're working on it. As soon as we have a better timeline, we'll share it. But it's very much in full swing, and we obviously are super excited that people are so excited about it. So very cool. Thanks for sharing that, Aaron. Aaron, were you going to share something else on your side? Are you sharing a video or no?
No, I'm not sharing my screen, but yeah.
I'll share some videos when
Okay, cool. All right, so that's a good segue to the man in light red or light pink. I can't tell what he's wearing today.
Salmon today. No.
Right in between. That brings back a harsh memory of just a few days ago at SIGGRAPH when I tried to eat sushi with my colleagues and I made a complete fool of myself. My fish went all over the table. I was like, "Stop looking at me, everybody!" And everybody kept looking at me.
We didn't. We ignored you completely. We didn't even talk to you for the rest of the night, Edmar. You went home alone.
Oh no! See, I was dead locked-eyed with him, and I was watching the top of his head the entire time, and looking at the sushi as it continuously kept like, you picked it up, came down, picked it up, came down. It was just like a mess at the end.
Edmar, we were proud of you. You used chopsticks perfectly.
I'm so glad Vince isn't here to collaborate all this, but to corroborate on all this rather. But actually, regarding that night, Sir Wade, if you're watching this, I owe you dinner. Sir Wade was supposed to meet us out that night, and apparently he was outside the window, but we didn't see him, so I'm sorry. But when Sir Wade, we'll make it up to you.
No.
Check out Sir Wade had put some great videos last week from SIGGRAPH. Had a great time, so definitely make sure you follow Sir Wade's channel and you're gonna get some really cool information there. All right, so speaking of salmon, let's dive into Mr. Frank Delise, who's joining us.
All right,
so Frank, lots of stuff happening with the platform.
Yes,
and the keynote was outstanding from Jensen. I was in, I think, row 2 or row 3, and I was just blown away by even being on the team, blown away by all the advancements and what we're working on next. So you want to shed some light on all that for everybody?
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Everything from obviously platform enhancements to working on cloud and APIs. And I think that's the really interesting piece here is that we're starting to really connect Omniverse to the cloud and leveraging these cloud APIs, everything from GDN to Omniverse Cloud. And it's allowing people to assemble really brand new workflows, like you said, like ChatUSD and even RunUSD. And like Aaron was saying, that's just the beginning. It's going to be unbelievable what we can be able to do when you just chain these APIs together, including generative AI, now into the power of Omniverse. So anyway, let me share some updates of what we're working on. Okay, so present my screen.
And feel free to keep posting questions in the chat. If anyone's got questions for us, we'll try to take good pauses and answer any outstanding questions. And I see your screen is coming up.
All right.
And here we go.
Great. Okay, so again, there's going to be a bunch of things I'm showing you that are also a bit in the future. So don't make any purchasing decisions based on things you see in the future. You never know when it's going to come out. And anyway, just want to make sure that's clear. But back to Omniverse and the platform. So I want to just reiterate, so Omniverse is a development environment. It's a platform for building these new USD-based applications and workflows. That everything from running that technology on laptops to workstations to even the cloud is a core component of that. And on top of that platform, we create foundation applications, and more we're creating APIs like cloud APIs, like you're starting to see from. That's how ChatUSD and actually RunUSD is. They're actually leveraging cloud APIs to spawn up a new kid and use the GPU and stream you back a view into an iframe. Really cool stuff that's happening there. But anyway, so this platform can then be used to solve problems from everything from avatars and autonomous vehicles to digital twins. So once you have these kind of foundation workflows, and if you look at NVIDIA holistically, this is a theme we're doing across AI and Omniverse, right? That we build foundations so that you can build on top of that. So we can save you all that time. Like, so if you look at AI, there's AI model foundations, and then there's going to be Omniverse foundation uh, that you can use. So you can take Composer and build on top of that and make your own workflow. In fact, you're starting to see companies starting to take advantage of that. But I'm telling you, today you can take Omniverse, you can take Composer, you can rip some extensions on it, you can put some new extensions on it, and you can release that on your own and call it whatever you want. The new, the new Machinima type app, if you want to make one, or a new, robotics tool. You can do that today with the Omniverse platform. And these are all the capabilities that we're really hyper focused on. Everything from this visualization to, again, robotic simulation to configurators to synthetic data generation. We're hyper focused on some key example workloads like factory planning and configurators and these we call this farm rendering, like submitting jobs for visualization into the farm. And we're hyper focused on those just to really prove out the workloads that you can leverage. But of course, you can do much more with the platform. So along with that is making sure that Omniverse is really well connected to everything that's out there. And this is where Paul and his team and we're really just working with the whole ecosystem on leveraging USD and making sure that USD is moving along in the industry and the ecosystem. Some connectors we're building, most of these connectors we're not. Most of these connectors are coming from our partners and ecosystem. So this is really great to see, and it really exploded over the last this last year. That's really good to see. So USD is really making inroads across a lot of these companies. So that's why AOUSD is so important between now and as a founding members of this. It's NVIDIA and Apple and Adobe and Pixar. And more and more members are starting to join. So the great thing here is it's about creating standards for USD to help things like how do we make interchange for materials? How do we make better interchange for, like I said, UTF and world coordinates for simulators? And there's so much that we can do together to help make standards together in the industry. So I'm really excited about this partnership, this alliance, and really helping foster this open USD ecosystem. So the product releases, we continue to release like every quarter, roughly. This is when we release. So we have new updates coming up that I'll talk about. And you see they actually go between GA and enterprise. That just means that we release constantly on the launcher. So we'll release beta versions. And then at some point we label them enterprise. Enterprise means then they're part of the Omniverse enterprise offering and they're supported. So if you use that version, you're going to get enterprise support with that version. So we're constantly updating, and right now we're in that 2023.x cycle and the 105 versions of Kit cycle, and I'm going to talk about some of the updates there. So for 105, the big focus here is mostly about extreme modularity and customization, and I'm going to deep dive that in a minute. Other big things is focusing on templating and creating experiences. And so remember before I talked a minute about, well, you can go take Composer and you can go add extensions and you can go, we're going to make those nice, simple templates. So you can go create me a new app starting with Composer and give it a name. And we're going to make it easy to take that and then publish it right into the launcher. So it's going to be really cool as a developer to start creating your own experiences. And of course, with USD, we've upgraded to the latest USD, and we're going to continue to invest more, like Aaron mentioned, in USD. Then with XR, I'll talk about that a bit more. Generative AI, we're connecting generative AI directly into Omniverse, so you'll see some cool things there. And of course, I'll jump into RTX, which is awesome enhancements. Okay, so when you talk about the kit, again, our focus here is making sure that it's extremely modular. today when we ship Composer, a bunch of extensions are kind of bundled with it, and you can go use those extensions. And there's also third-party extensions, which are fantastic and growing, and you should definitely check them out. It's on the community tab within that extension manager. There's a lot going on there that are awesome. So what we've done here is actually moved all of our extensions to be a remote registry. So it actually only pulls down extensions as you need them. What that means is also when an app releases, a foundation app releases like Composer, we can update extensions without you going to get a new Composer. So you can get things like, oh, you know what? Animation tools have upgraded. Let me just go download that a new extension. Or it means I can assemble a new app myself and just pick and choose from the remote registry all the things that are available today. So you can fine tune and make your own little app that can be really simple and clean from that extension manager. So lots of great there. So this remote extension registry has over 500 core extensions you can use, and again, they can download on demand. This can help make app building simpler and also more lightweight for the thing that you want to do. So now if you look at these foundations, you can see now when you use Kit, it's all about how do you build up your app from groups of extensions, and you can leverage extensions now because they're in a remote registry. If we release something for another foundation app, it's immediately available for any of the other apps that you can go download and use. And that's going to be the power of these extensions. So you can see now third parties are already taking this and already making their own workflows and own apps directly on top of that, which is really cool. Like Smart Cow is, I think the license plate, synthetic data generation and heavy. Sync Twin is doing great digital twin work, and Heavy AI for propagating, signal strength and creating their own viewer. It's just amazing stuff. And of course, even like Bentley made a whole new Lumen RT product on top of that. So it's really incredible. So in this new foundation app, again, our purpose there is to pull a bunch of these extensions together and show you what's possible, right? And they can solve some of your workflows, and some, again, if they don't, extend them. We want you to extend it. We want you to build on top of that. But some of the key things here is that we've built in this fully featured configurator experience. That just meant that we focused on a bunch of extensions. What's needed for someone to build a configurator-like experience, either it be cars or retail products. What are the things needed? And that meant things like variant editing tools, UI tools to create user interfaces. I'll talk about that in a second. How do they collaborate? How do you take this and then publish it as an experience to the cloud so that you can get to one-to-many, which is what we did with the BYD configurator with WPP. I'll show that. So there's a lot of great things there. Then from scene scale and size, we've increased the limit of instances to 16 million. This is enormous. So now you get an instance can be tens of millions of polygons or hundreds of millions. So we're hitting trillions of polygons. So polygons are not an issue in Omniverse, but number of instances were, like how many of these things were instanced over and over again. So anyway, 16 million is a really big number, and we're continuing to increase that as much as possible. And in fact, we're going to make it dynamic. But jumping to 16 was a big leap. The other thing is the denoiser. So we moved from we had a denoiser, and now we made an AI denoiser where we trained the denoiser based on all of the path trace quality of Omniverse, so that in real time you can get path trace quality. And I want to show you that, and it is a massive leap in quality in the new RTX version, and also allows you to do RTX real-time version. What also allows you to do new things that were typically only available in path tracing, like this, rough transparency, for example. We also added things like rounded corners. This is really neat. So even in the material, you can define that the corners are round. So if you think about this is things like if you're modeling something that is, like a part, or have something that has just straight edges, the renderer will smooth it and give it a fillet. So it gives you a nice highlight on the edges, even though you didn't model it. So the rendering will do that for you. So it's a really cool feature of MDL. You can just tweak. I want all corners to be a little round, and it gives everything a more realistic, soft edging to things. And it's great for manufacturing data, for example, where it has slight fillets on it. And then, of course, translucency. We had more translucent shadows in RTX, where you can actually grab the color as well from that translucency. And then on the we've been adding more. I guess I call them their extensions, but to do more operators on your meshes, things like generating UV mapping, merging meshes, merging materials, and this allows you to create some Jujitsu, what we call Jujitsu tooling, to, as the data comes in, go do a bunch of work on it, which can either be, as an operator, push the button and it goes, does it, or it can actually be done at runtime. So that means you can bring in large scenes and they just work. You don't have to, manage it and create these things on the fly. So really, really, really great new upgrades there. In RTX, like I mentioned, there's a new AI denoiser, which is phenomenal. The quality has made a major jump. And the places you would normally see this is in real time. You might see, if you move something fast, you'd see some ghosting. That's gone. A lot of like sparkles or things you might get from having not enough rays because of this, using an image based or using a sky dome. Those things are gone. So the denoiser just makes a huge difference on the quality. And on top of that, this is using DLSS 3.0. So DLSS 3.0, so moving to Ada already gave us almost 2x performance, right? So things that were 60 frames a second are now 120 frames a second. And then with DLSS 3, it has a new capability called AI frame generation, which actually generates frames in between frames using AI, which actually doubles the frame rate again. So then if you were 60 before, now you're 120 because of Ada, and then 240 because of frame generation. So the performance with DLSS 3 and Ada is just mind-boggling, especially since everything we do is fully ray traced and and you can do path tracing, so that actually even our real-time mode has path tracing in it. But the quality now is unbelievable, and because it's of course, there's pure ray tracing, there's no raster in there, scene scales can be ginormous without creating LODs and decimating geometry or creating any kind of special meshes. And we did create a raster mode for things like widgets. So for people that do want to do like widget type things that are raster, they can do that. But again, the renderer is a pure ray tracing and path tracing. So now, like, real-time mode, they look beautiful. It's becoming indistinguishable between path trace and just the real-time view. This is a real-time view of so the RacerX content that we showed at SIGGRAPH. The other really neat thing here is we added a new way of working. We had OmniGraph, which does like action graphs, and you can do actions like push a button, it does things. And what we wanted to do next was to make it possible to create experiences in the UI without being a hardcore Python developer. So if you just wanted to drag and drop a UI widget onto the screen, it's treated as a UI prim. So we call that UI prim. It lives in the USD stage, and you can drag UI prims onto the screen, like here, these color swatches and buttons and sliders, and you can just drag them onto the screen. And then once you have them on the screen, they're prims. And because Action Graph can access USD properties with this new through USD schemas, I can access the properties of the button if it was pressed, or if it was hovered, and do things in the Action Graph when you press it. So when I press the button, go change this variant on this model, or go move to this camera, or so you can create complete UI that is codeless. It's just all through Action Graph and UI prims. So example of that is we showed this at SIGGRAPH, which was with a partnership with BYD and WPP. The WPP is one of the largest agencies in the world that does this type of work, and they're creating these configurators. So this was using the new real-time mode, using the new AI denoiser, the new UI prims, and they created this this whole configurator experience, all again fully real time, ray traced with path tracing in it, and you can see on the right hand side there's the widgets for things like changing the color of the paint of the object. Those are all just UI prims that you can just drag and drop onto the screen and get action to action graphs that get access to USD prims and USD variants, and we're just changing variants. And again, the amazing thing about this whole project, this is the CAD data. This is the data directly from manufacturer with all the variants. If you pull this thing apart and do a section of it, it has everything in it. The motors, the wires, the harnesses, the bolts, the screws, everything is in there. The power of Omniverse is that you do not need to create special, gamified assets for this type of work. It is the manufacturer, is a digital twin of that actual car. So, so this is great. You can have access to these things, and now once you do build a configuration, you can create an app, or you can create an experience. But the great thing is you can actually publish this with a new tool called USD to GDN Publisher. So part of our Omniverse Cloud is what we call GDN. It leverages the GFN, the gaming streaming technology, but using enterprise level GPUs like L40s in the cloud, where I can publish this one to many. So I can take this car once I'm done and say, I'm going to publish this so worldwide, anyone can go click on the configurator and use it and review it for this USD content. We call it the USD GDN publisher because you're leveraging USD and you're publishing it to GDN, and it makes that all automatic and easy for you. So it's a great way to get your content in the cloud and to be viewed by anyone. So you can view this on a tablet, you can view this on a web browser, you can view it anywhere you want. You're going to get full real-time, ray tracing wherever you are. All right. So next key thing is we had XR as its own app, and mainly just for fast working experience and betas and alphas and test out the new capabilities. Now we've merged all of that XR and AR experience directly into extensions and into all of the foundation apps like Composer and Presenter, so you can access that capability directly. So this is great, and because now it's extensions, you can go and of course use that in any of your own create your own apps that leverage XR and AR. So for example, here's again another car with a configure type experience, but now purely in AR. So it's on a tablet, and now I'm streaming ray tracing to a tablet, getting really awesome quality and shadows.
Frank, that just looks like your driveway. Where's the AR side of things? That's just what you drive to work, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's my new car. I love it. It only cost me $3 million. Wasn't bad. Payments are about $50,000 a month. It's no big deal. But yes, it's very, very cool. It's that we can get this kind of quality streamed to a device.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
wow.
It's really cool. That's what really shines. You look at like the Vario headset, things that are really high quality headsets. It just really shines this type of work. All right, so then of course there's a ton of. I'm only giving you a little tiny snippet of all the things that are going on, but there's lots of great things within these updates. Like even within Nucleus now, there's deep search is now fully integrated into the navigator, so you can search using deep search. And if those who didn't hear about deep search before, deep search is incredible. It's a way when you put an asset in Nucleus, deep search will open it, will look at it and analyze it and create a latent space of what it thinks it is. Is it a bolt or a bucket or a color red? And this is, it just automatically figures out what it is. So when you search for things, you can use natural language search to find your assets. So I can find me a rusty barrel that looks like it's from the 70s. It will find you that asset in your database without ever having to tag it. Anyway, so that's built into Nucleus as part of your search. Things like download retries. So if you have really large data, sometimes you have a connection problem. You can now retry those downloads. That's a major time saver when you have lots of data you want to move in and out. And Nucleus does have that whole Google Drive-like behavior that you can actually have a sync on your desktop. So if you want your folders to be warm and synced on your desktop, you can do that. So it's a great feature of this as well. USDZ previews directly in the navigator. If you haven't seen those in the last update, there's lots of really great live collaboration workloads. Nucleus in general has large scale collaboration. Anyone can work together. Hundreds, thousands of people can all work together on one project within Nucleus. But then there's another feature on top of that, which is called live editing, which is multiple people can edit the document at the same time. This is like Google Docs of 3D, where you can all be in the same scene, moving things around live. And again, that whole workflow has been massively revamped to make it very easy to create a session and join a session for those workflows. And then for extensions we've released, now we have some extensions that do things like record the entire 3D scenes animations to USD. So if you created some animations that were either you use the curve editor, or even if you did something procedurally, you can then go, like physics, for example, you can go bake that down to USD as time sample data, so you can go see it in any of the other tools easily, which is great. And of course, the asset validation, like what Aaron was talking about, how we have the whole APIs and it can create a service, and you can just drag the file and validate it and give you a preview. Well, that validation core set framework, those tools, is actually part of its extensions. So, I mean, you can go leverage those things directly, even on your own desktop, to validate a scene or make your own workflow. You can certainly go do that. So asset validation is also a part of that. Lastly, with MDL, now we have a way to bake MDL down to USD preview surface. This is really great when you want to go to USDZ. Like USDZ is huge on Apple. So we want to use USDZ directly in Safari. You can bake from MDL to a USD preview surface, so you can get that material to move across our ecosystems. Then in the configurators, we've not only built all the tooling, but we've built a lot of templates. So things like new backgrounds and automotive material libraries. Really cool is video. I don't know if anyone has a link, but they should post it in there. There's a video on this new automotive library. That's really cool. And then we just built hundreds of new action graph nodes for things like configurators, like getting access to variants or material properties, or camera movements and that sort of thing. So a lot of new samples and documentation around that.
Hey Frank, would
Yeah.
you mind just staying on that slide for just 1 second? I wanted to highlight just some of my favorites out of this stuff. I know it's not the sexiest thing, but the USD previews in the browser, in your when you're browsing through files, that makes such a difference to your workflow when you can see the preview of the image. If I think back to like Adobe Bridge, when that showed up, I know a lot of people still don't use Adobe Bridge, but essentially that's like a Windows Explorer interface just for graphics apps, just for graphics files. So you can preview a PSD and a JPEG and a PNG and movies and all that in Adobe Bridge. That's what Omniverse does for 3D files, which I don't think any other app does anywhere near as well or at all. So I love that you guys are still adding more previews, because that really helps the process for me as a creator. When you've got dozens, if not hundreds, of 3D files to be able to preview it in advance, totally greases the wheel. So that's like my top pick in that column for sure. On the MDL to USD, that's another example of just greasing the wheels, just making it like plug and play. And plug and play is such a big thing about the whole USD and Omniverse ethos, really. There's not that, those don't sound like the most sexy things, but they totally make a difference to your workflow.
Yeah, it makes sense, and that's why I'm so excited about the APIs, because now we have more of these cloud APIs. Directly from Navigator, we can connect to those APIs. So I should be able to right-click on a file and just validate this for me, or let me just or just right-click and say, bring me an RTX view of this asset where I can, fly around it and walk around it without opening the app, make it easy. So it's going to really open up a lot of new capabilities, or make me a new background with Gen AI, or
Yeah.
like I said, Chat USD, how many assets
Yeah.
does this thing have in it? Is there an asset in here called a wheel, and
Yeah.
linked in here? And anyway, so there's going to be a lot of really interesting, I think, workflows once the APIs are starting to get connected together.
Great.
This is what we want the ecosystem to do, right? This is what developers to do is once we release these APIs, we're doing most of this work to show what's possible, but it's all about the developers. It's all about what you can do with the platform.
Yeah, and USD is our best shot at truly a unified, format that avoids vendor lock-in, but in exchange for that, it guarantees compatibility and stability. But the OpenUSD element really makes it possible for people to adopt this stuff, for the ecosystem to grow. Without that open element, there would still, I'm sure, in the industry, be hesitation. So I'm really excited. Like this is our best shot at it for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I love about Chat USD. It's I know for me, it was life changing. I'm a Python developer, but I'm not a really C++ person, and half the times finding what I can do with USD is a lot of times trying to look at C++ APIs and trying to figure out how does that equate to a Python syntax, And so I actually use Chat USD for that a lot for that. It's like, yeah, but how do I really animate a prim, in USD? Can't find great examples of that, or how do I really access the light lux properties of a thing? And actually, I can't even find a sample of that, and it has it. And so I think with Chat USD is really going to help everyone be a developer, because you can just run it and use it and make little tools. And half the time, that's the problem. Like Aaron was mentioning before, it's half the time it's just I don't really want to make the script. I just got a problem right now that I can't. That the tools are not there. I want to edit only all the lights that have this name in it, and change them all to red, or lower their property value from times and times 100. I can go figure out the script today, but I'm probably going to waste another 3 hours of my life today trying to find all the syntax and go do it. But I've been just chatting and hitting play. Nope, yeah, that's it. Do it, and it runs through the scene and changes all those things. Yes, I don't need to have the tool. I want to have a conversation with my tool. So it's really, really, really been great for that. So I'm really excited about everyone getting their hands on that. So as enterprise platform as a service, this is really Omniverse Cloud. So Omniverse Cloud is a PaaS. It's a platform as a service. That means what we're doing here is, we have Omniverse Enterprise. Go use it on your desktop workstations, virtual workstations. Put it on AWS. Doesn't matter. You put it wherever you want. But Omniverse Cloud, what it's doing is now solving all that. It's creating a managed platform as a service. So you don't have to deal with, well, how do I get all my reviewers to review this project together? How do I set up Nucleus in the proper way? How do I have security set up in the right way? How do I submit farm jobs to hundreds of GPUs? And so the job of Omniverse Cloud is to go make that whole setup really easy for you. Handle the infrastructure, the managed service of that, the APIs that you can call into, everything nicely in a bow. But it's designed that you can go develop your own workflow and submit it to that cloud. That's why it's called a PaaS, and then it manages that for you. So it's not a SaaS where it delivers only a workflow for you. It's actually a PaaS where you just define your workflow, and we'll help you manage it across your organization, right? And so it's really powerful. It's really exciting. We're doing a lot of great things in there. There's more to come on that, of course. But that's currently an enterprise level feature. But part of that is also that GDN, which is that ability to, again, once you build something, and Omniverse Cloud allows you to help deploy that within your enterprise. GDN allows you to distribute that to the many. So once you make a project, like if you want to do a configurator or a review, you want to submit that to people outside the organization, GDN is a great tool to go push that out to the rest of the world. All right, so the two big APIs that we've released, or we're talking about here, is Run USD and Chat USD. So run USD, like I said, Aaron mentioned that a bunch. Really excited about it because now we're submitting USD content. It's actually, and what it's doing, it's taking that USDZ, it's submitting it to the cloud, it's running Kit, it's running that validator extension, it's doing a bunch of work on it, and then it's actually moving it to GDN APIs and creating a streamed RTX view into an iframe. So if you think about the back end and what's actually going on, awesome. It's managed service for APIs that allow you to create this whole experience. And again, it's just the beginning. It's starting to show and test what's possible with these APIs. So what we're expecting people to do is take these APIs and pull it into their environments and build their own workflows around this, which will be amazing. So anyway, super excited about that. And lastly is, of course, we're doing this with. Now I think you saw some of the videos. If not, I'll just play them while I'm talking about it. This was the Chat USD video that we were showing at SIGGRAPH, but basically it's you literally just type in what you want to do, and it'll actually create the code. And there's like a little play button on the top right. That's actually the button you'll actually run it right there within Omniverse to go do it. So if you ask it a question and it shows you the code, you can hit play and it just runs it. You don't have to go cut and paste it. You don't have to cut and paste it and put it somewhere else. You just have to hit play. And you can keep having a conversation that continues. It's a chat. So you can actually tell, no, I didn't mean that. Can you do this instead? And oh, no, but can you add this? And it continues the conversation, which is great. So here you can see that I've asked it to change the color of the car. And then I wanted to go iterate through all the variants of the car. And it writes the whole script of now give me a variant view of all those assets. Then I asked it to now lay out those cars all over the place and instance them. And for each one, change the color of each of the instances. Now laid out the car thousands of times and change the color of each of the instances.
Amazing.
So it's just craziness. It is we're super excited about it. The next one was, of course, like once you do upload a USD file into the web page, which you'll see in that link, you do again to get this streamed view of the USDZ file where you can play it, you can look at the animations, pan around it, and then you can actually look at the validation results of that USDZ. What are the issues with that scene? Is there anything that's missing, or references that are broken, or material bindings that aren't quite right? And you can download that and review that for your data. But again, it's cool that you can just easily get, an RTX view right into your browser. It's gonna be great. And then lastly, okay, now you add Gen AI to all this. Now you got all these APIs where you can go. I can load files, I can run data on them, I can view them, and now I can generate data on top of that and combine them all together, all through APIs. So with generative AI. Think about it. The great thing here about Omniverse and Gen AI is it's connecting all the Gen AI models into Omniverse, and then from there, because it's OpenUSD, you can take that and move it into any of your tools. So you can use Omniverse as a way to generate HDRIs or backgrounds or models, and because it's USD, you can take that now and you want to put that in FBX or GLTF or something else, or use a connector and get it into another application. Now you don't have to wait for every tool to all have a Gen AI feature. Omniverse gives you a Gen AI portal to all those tools, right? So now you can create content for any of the tools that I use and love. So it's going to be really exciting as we do more and more here. And like I said, we use this even in our configurators to create 3D HDRI images all through Gen AI. And again, the Gen AI we're using and we're connecting to ethical ones that are using licensed data, and so we're creating stuff that you can use. And we showed this as an example of real-time live connecting into Gen AI, even as an extension example, where they were creating materials just from prompts. So you can type in I want a blue and white sofa pattern, and it will create the normal map and the texture, albedo map and specular map, and automatically apply it as materials. And again, this is example. These are developer examples of how you can leverage the models and create your own extensions easily. But you can change the way it looks, feels, acts, and make your own workflows for this, which is again really exciting. So this one actually, I think this is the one that won at Real Time Live. Really cool example.
What's that video? And video changes everything. Click on that.
Exactly. All right, that's it for the platform updates. And I mean,
that's it. What do you mean that's it? That was like 7 hours.
That's not even I know it's not even
not
even a twinkle what's going on. But we're deeply invested. We're deeply invested to work with developers. We want to make this easy for people to create new workloads and new workflows, and we're just really excited with what the developers are doing, and within, when I go look at the extension manager, that's where I get really excited. I see the new AI, AI moves, or like capturing animation from video and using that directly within Omniverse, and there's going to be a lot of Gen AI stuff that's showing up. Anyway, so it's really exciting that we can make this more and more accessible to developers, and make it easier and easier. We're going to make it easier and easier to even publish this work to everyone. So if you want to make something and you want to get it out to the world, do that. We're excited.
Yes.
That's awesome. And
yes.
Obviously, we want everybody to share on what you're doing, and any questions you have, use the forums, use our Discord server, discord.gg/NVIDIA Omniverse. Lots of channels broken up by category and app, and verticals. So just feel free to come there, chat with us there. We got lots of community members that are. It's so actually awesome to see how many community members are helping each other on our Discord server. It's actually, I think, Simply Channable is here in the chat. I saw him. Jerry Chen is doing an amazing job. So I'm really happy to see how much help people are giving each other. Really, I'm trying to send him a T-shirt, but he won't let me. But I'll have to have an investigator find out his address or something. All right, so we've got Paul Cutzinger here with us today, who's also prepared some goodness as it relates to last week at SIGGRAPH. Paul, you and your team were there in full force. I saw you guys all over the place. Someone was just asking a second ago about Racer RTX, and we have actually had a great demo there in a couple of different booths I saw. Ashley, I think you were helping out at one of them, right?
Yeah, for 2 days I got to hang out at the booth and demo Racer RTX, and it was funny because what I would do to get people to come play it with me is I was standing like in the hallway where like people had to walk by me, and so I had like the Xbox controller, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, and I would shove the controller in their hand and be like, "Here, play this," and then I'd explain what Racer RTX was because I was just as excited. But I did that, and I ended up handing off the controller to the guy who ran the team that created Racer RTX. And I was like, "Have you ever played this before?" And he's like, "Well, yes, many times." And turned out it's because he created it.
That's awesome. And of course, I knew this question was going to come. I heard it last week a few times, and I just saw it in the chat a minute ago. So it is going to be released imminently. There are people working on it right now. I think I was trying to get a specific date, but it's super soon with a TM mark after it. So just be on the lookout. We'll post it on Discord as soon as I see it drop. But it was definitely playable, as Ashley had demonstrated. There was no fake strings there. It was all real. It was super creative. People could not believe actually that it was real time, really insane. So, okay, speaking about really insane and awesome real time, what do you got for us, Paul?
Well, shout out to all the tool makers out there. We spend a lot of time talking to people who are making tools, and I kind of want to just share some patterns that I've started seeing. Saw a lot of these come out at SIGGRAPH, and with all the USD announcements and all the stuff that Frank just showed, boy, it's an interesting time for tool makers. So let me share with you a little bit of ways to think about this. The first is, of all the workflows that we've been working, like factory planning and car configurators, and I mean, there's just all these different workflows that we've heard many people talking about. There seems to be a fairly common pattern and a set of opportunities for tool makers throughout the pattern. So the first part of it is you got to get your reality into digitized, right? You think up ideas and you got to make them digitally. You scan the real world, you bring it in digitally. There's a reality to digitization step, and there's a lot of opportunity for tools there. Then once you get your thing digitized, then you start to figure out, well, how do I show it to people, get feedback on it, and move it towards simulation and make it ready to actually simulate the thing. you can even say that the car configurator is like a lightweight simulation, right? It's like you can visually see what it's really going to look like and what's happening. Then you keep working around this flywheel, and you move into simulation that is meant to cause things to happen in the real world, right? So it could be manufactured. It could be to train robots so that they can run around in the factory and train things, and then they bring that into reality. And then you keep going through the loop. So at every phase along this, there's opportunity for tool makers. And what I kind of want to do is just show you some of the stuff I've seen, and hopefully it'll inspire you all to find other ways to make tools and to plug into all of this. So if we start in that reality sort of idea, that space, you've got these ideas, and you got to get the ideas out and digitized and communicated and get them into this process. So you can, of course, do all sorts of things like using CAD to design the products. You can use materials like substance and make the leather on the headphones look just right. You can assemble all of these pieces parts into really large scenes to show how not just a car would be made, or not just maybe a seat of a car or the whole of the car, but you can also talk about how the factory that makes the car can all come together. You can assemble these really large scenes together. Here's an example. This is from a company called Vectorworks, and they're using a couple different applications together. But what they wanted to do is be able to visualize this with RTX. So they're putting together this stadium, and they're moving around lighting, and they get it to the point where they can describe to their clients how this might work in real time, make changes and tune things. So they're a good example of somebody who assembles a large number of assets together and then renders it out in different views. Still in this reality digitization phase, there's a few different common kinds of tools that we're starting to see. One is around capturing the as-built. Like I made a factory a while ago. It has pipes put in somewhere. Maybe the pipe is 8 inches off of where the design plans actually said it was going to be, or maybe I've added on something and I've lost the plans for that or whatever. So you can go around, you can scan environments and bring them in. You can also capture motion of people or robots or assembly lines. And then you can capture products and take that product and then add it into a scene or show it off and bring that into configurators and so forth. So let's look at an example here. This is Move AI. This is Mario Viviani doing some karate moves. And this is with Move AI's new thing where they can capture with one cell phone. It used to be there was 3, which was amazing, by the way, 3 cell phones to capture the movements. Now they've got it down to 1, and then you can bring it in and then use retargeting to bring it into your animation. So we keep moving around that wheel. We're past digitization now, and we're saying, well, what do we have to do to get this ready for simulation? How do we move it beyond just that visualization? So the first part is around sim-ready assets, just making sure that the items in the scene are behaving sensorially correct for all of the interactions in the scene. AR avatars is Convey AI, for example. They're using ACE to match the characters that they've created with audio and move the mouth and change the facial expressions to create characters inside of games. And then true to reality visualization, like really large scale visualizations. Let's look at some examples here. For sim-ready assets, one thing that you're going to do is make sure that you've got assets that look proper to the sensors that are on a robot. So vision or LiDAR or whatnot. But beyond that, you want to be physically correct. So you want to be able to label it, and then you can imagine like a gripper grabbing a box. There's a coefficient of friction on the box, or even a mass of the box that might be off-centered. You want to be able to maneuver that around. And then for the actors in the scene, it's not sufficient to just have an animation. You want to have something like on this this forklift where it's physics-based. So if it's loaded differently, it's going to move around differently in the scene. And that's so that you can train the robots properly in the environment before it goes out. Here's another example. This is Bentley. They made this Lumen RT app. So it's a kit-based app. They built an app that is Bentley. It doesn't look like Omniverse at all, and it's using all the Omniverse stack below it for the Bentley customers. And this allows them to connect up to their entire line of iTwin, all the Bentley apps in their suite, or any apps that connect into those, and then pull them into this one Lumen RT app, and you can visualize these really large projects that they've got going on. Cesium's another one. Geospatial, taking satellite imagery and actually data from a variety of different sources, and then locating it properly on the globe. This is really fantastic for everything from movies to like filming something in a set, but also a lot of manufacturing and factory planning scenarios where I've got a building that I'm building and I want to see it in the context of the area that I'm putting into. In fact, I might need to get approvals from the city planners to say what's the shadow that this building is going to cast onto the rest of the environment. So this gives you a way to geospatially coordinate all that. Siemens is another one. They do really large scale integrations. And here I have really highly detailed robot arms, but also assembly lines, but also the factory. And I can do all sorts of simulations now to start to figure out what is the most efficient way to arrange my assembly lines. As I move all the parts through here and I change up something, am I going to get collisions throughout the whole of the scene? I can plan the factory now years before they actually build it out. Like you can really work through all the nuances and details to really accelerate the planning and the change ups that they might want to do. And it's all connected into various apps. You can use the Siemens suite of applications and then bring those into Omniverse to get the full fidelity visualization. Okay, so keep moving around that thing. Now we're moving it from simulation into synthetic data. So a lot of AI today is trained up on text or on images. And over time, that's going to include 3D. The AI will start to be trained up on 3D spaces. The ability to create the synthetic data is really powerful and important. If you're trying to do defect detection, for example, it's very hard to get the training data necessary by actually defecting your products, by actually denting them, scratching them, adding rust and all these things. You just can't do it. And so you want to be able to synthetically generate all of that data and then train up and deploy your simulation. So here's an example of a partner that's doing some really cool stuff. This is Edge Impulse. In this scene, they've got a variety of different pieces of cutlery. You got plastic forks and stainless steel and spoons, all a variety of orientations. You've got lighting that's bouncing off of the table surface and not being misconstrued as a spoon and so forth. So they're doing a lot as you go through the synthetic data generation pipeline. You might use substance to create scratches and rust and stuff onto a product. And then you might use Replicator to create a wide range of orientations. And then you might use something like Edge Impulse to go through and spot and train up your AI. And then you might use that to deploy it to your whatever device you might have, a Jetson-based device or whatnot, and use the same stack all the way through. And here is Amazon Robotics. So they've got these robots that run around in their fulfillment centers and they move the parts around. This is all the real. Nope, now we're in Omniverse. It's actually hard to tell the difference between the two because you need them to be, again, sensorially correct. You need the boxes to be able to tumble and land in weird orientations, and then the robot picker arms to pick it up and see what's going on and sense what's happening. So they use this environment, the synthetic environment, to train up their entire fleet of robotics, and then they can move them around in the park with you got people safely in the ranges and not having troubles with it. So at the heart of this cycle is USD. The reason that you can get through all of those workflows and go through all those different moments throughout the workflow where you're trying to capture things and then have them work interoperably is through this USD piece. And so no matter what kind of tool maker you are, I would lean into the USD aspect. Figure out how does in your niche, in your area of specialty, how can you grab USD and then use that to span out into the adjacent tools next to you in the workflow. One way to think about this is you take a scene like earlier, Frank showed this car configurator. The USD behind the scenes of that car configurator is actually multiple USD files and layers coming together to form one thing. You might have the actual vehicle, you might have a road or the scene that changes depending upon your personal preferences or your location in the world. And then you've got a variety of different director shots like cameras and where things might go. And then all the variations that go in these. So you can have the different wheel components and all of that. And because it's all layered like this, it allows you to make these very composable, non-destructive experiences. So let me walk you through an example of an end-to-end, which has a variety of tools in it and a variety of AI interspersed throughout. So if we start through this, the scenario is I've got a floor plan and I want to represent it in 3D. I start out with a PowerPoint. A lot of people actually use 2D constructs to communicate their ideas. So this is starting out with a PowerPoint, and in the PowerPoint, you take an outline of the floor plan, you take some boxes, and you say, this area is a loading zone. And you type onto it. This area is a loading zone, and it has forklifts and such. It's almost, you actually put a prompt into it. This area is a reception area. It's got a comfortable chair and a front desk to greet people. What SyncTwin does, SyncTwin is a tool that will take that PowerPoint, read all of the prompts that are off of it, and then send them off to various AIs to go generate what's necessary for that. So, for example, the first thing that SyncTwin itself does is it builds up the warehouse shell to put the whole space in. And then it sends it off to ChatGPT. There's a sample that we made called Room Generator. It sends off the information from the USD scene, specifically the location and size of the space, plus a prompt from the PowerPoint to say, make this a storage area with a bunch of shelves and boxes. And then the result of that is some text from ChatGPT, and we can bring it into JSON format or even USD format, and then in turn send that off to another AI, to Deep Search. So Deep Search will take you want a large shelf, and it'll go through your asset library, find the right asset from your asset library, and then drop it into the scene. And then it also gives you variations, because a lot of time these AIs, they give you something about right, but not really what you want. And so you have variations built right into USD that you can toggle through and see the different options and pick your favorite, or rerun it and get some more variations, or maybe take a variation that's close and then tweak it to your liking. So the next one over is this add lighting. This is actually an interesting one, because what it's doing is it's taking the prompt and it sends it off to Blender. And in fact, it sends it off to a plugin in Blender GPT from Tree Industries. And so it launches Blender in a headless mode and says, hey, give me some lighting that fills a grid array. Blender GPT in that thing runs, generates the lighting, drops the USD file back onto the connector. The connector sends a notification back to the Omniverse app that says, hey, we got a change, and you pull it in, and now you can see the whole lighting array. So you're using the tools that you love most, even if they're in other tools, right? The whole point is to pull this network together. And then the last one, the Skybox, this is an example of just calling a simple API. Blockade Labs has an HDRI API, and you say, like, my factory is located in a desert area, and it'll generate 3 different variations of HDRIs for you and drop it into the scene and give it. And in fact, that prompt again was pulled off of the PowerPoint in the very beginning and then dropped into the scene. So this is an example that's got, I didn't count them. I guess I should have 6 different tools all pulled together, all from the user perspective in a very simplistic way to, like, get you up and running very, very quickly. All overridable, because it's all done through layers and variants in USD. So I could actually get 3 ideas from generative AI. I could also get 3 ideas from my designer, and they all drop in as variants, so we can pick and choose the ones we like the best and keep moving on. So, and then ChatUSD, you saw this one from Frank. This is, I think, a really great way to help accelerate how you can build stuff. Just start dropping in, like, what do you want to do? And then you can either get information about how that works, or just directly get the Python script to go run it yourself. And very fast for debugging, very fast for initial creation, and sometimes for creation totally. So anyway, with that, I would love to see what kind of tools you all are making. I think this is a really exciting time for tool makers. There's just so much change happening so quickly that this is the moment where people can get in and get rolling. So
I don't think Ben Franklin could have said it better himself. That was perfect. What a great, inspiring set of tools and just presentation material from each of the people here today. Really,
I got to find a way to show them all. There's just so many. I mean, you're showing the 240, but when I was at SIGGRAPH, I was just constantly bumping into somebody who was like, okay, this is what we're trying to do. And it was just active brainstorming. What really surprised me, I think, the most was the USD mindset. A lot of people were thinking of Omniverse as a thing that they needed to plug into and extend, versus as a platform they could build on top of. So the app story is a big mind shift for folks. Like the fact that Bentley has built an app on top of Omniverse and it's theirs. It's not, I'm going into Omniverse to do something. I'm going into Bentley Lumen RT to do something. And all of you can do that. And with 105, it's just easier than ever. And so you can build your own app full on, use a bunch of the extensions that you like that we've made, or as you all know, go look at the code for those, change them up, find the parts you love, make your own versions of the extensions and make whatever you want out of that. That's really powerful. And then the other one is USD. Even companies, there are companies who are super excited about it because they're like, now I get to be a part of this end-to-end workflow, right? And they can imagine their tool in the end-to-end workflow. There are other companies who are like, I don't really want to because I want to have all my data for myself. Even those companies are thinking about using how they can use USD internally across all of their internal tools. So even if they still present it as like we're not super connected into all the rest, they still want to figure out how do we optimize the flow within our own ecosystem. So I think there's really powerful momentum in both those spaces, and I would just love to see how tool collectors can play into this.
Totally. And on that note, so we have a great channel on our Discord server called Share Your Work. We love to see what people are working on there. It doesn't matter what it is. If there's anything related to OpenUSD, let's see it. And also speaking of Blender, I met with them and Turbo Squid last week, actually, and they're both very interested in coming on a live stream in the coming weeks.
That'd be great.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. Blender is going to actually, I met with the art director there, and he's going to show us mood and lighting and how he does that. And Turbo Squid's going to talk about their stem cell update. Very cool feature, I think, that does conversions for USD. So lots of cool things on the horizon for developers out there that are chomping at the bits to get started or dig in deeper. We are here for you. That's why we do these live streams. Ashley also has a fantastic series called Learn With Me. Ashley, are you doing that next week?
I'm not sure if I'm going to get started next week, but more likely the week after.
Cool.
I've got some things that I got to prepare. So
Awesome.
I was on a hiatus prepping for SIGGRAPH stuff, and now I just got to get back into the flow of live streaming regularly. So probably not next week, the week after that.
Okay, awesome. And those will be added to our calendar as soon as they're finalized. Jen, you have a live stream with Eric Bowman that you usually participate in, engineering design in Omniverse. I believe you guys are still diving into Isaac and robotics and RC car, digital twin. Is that you guys are doing that tomorrow, right?
I believe so. Unless it's got canceled, but I'm pretty sure it's still on. So
okay. I didn't cancel it. So
I hope not. I mean, I understand that you still don't like the sushi thing. So I mean, I get it if you want to.
And I have to mention, Jen alluded to it earlier. The other funny thing that happened at that dinner, and this is the first time a lot of people are seeing each other face to face, right? So first it was like, oh my God, you have legs. So that kind of thing. And then the other part of it was I was sitting next to Jen. And I did not, I'm sorry, Jen, and I did not realize, I was like looking up because I was like, what's wrong with my chair? Like, I thought I was in a kid's chair. And she's looking down at me talking. And I'm like, something's odd here. And then she's like, either I have a very short torso or she's got a long torso. I think one of us should figure it out who it is, because I'm just curious. But I was just amazed that I had to look up at you the whole time. And I thank you for not,
it's because Jen has such amazing posture. She just puts us all to shame.
She does.
Her back muscles are just so strong. She stands up taller than all of us.
She does. That's a great way to put it. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So we have some great content here on the live streams where you can engage with us directly. You have the Discord, you have the forums, as we mentioned. We have this awesome portal for developers. There's really, if you have any problem finding something, just shoot me an email, edmart@nvidia.com. I will put you in touch with the right person, the right team, the right resource, and we'll help you hit the ground running. We also are always looking for that developer that has a fantastic idea that really needs help to kind of bring it start to finish. So let me know if you've got an idea for something, you've got the skills, and you want us to help with in terms of the publishing process. Like we can help with that. Okay, so I think I'm glad my slides broke earlier, because what the next slide was is better to cover next week, since we went over today, and I want to give this a due time. But next week we're going to announce, and it's great that Rafi's here as one of our Omniverse ambassadors communities from the community. We're going to announce our next ambassadors, really exciting people. We actually are super excited to introduce these people to everybody. Actually, people will probably know them, which is why they're great ambassadors. But anyway, we're going to make it official next week, and we have a nice addition to the community website, which will illustrate them. And for everyone out there that does need help and guidance, we actually have a couple other good resources in our ambassadors. So many of the ambassadors are open to consulting and helping people, even as a friendly, or if you need something more bigger, to do some kind of engagement with them. And the other resource we obviously have is we have lots of companies that are an individual that are jumping in, offering their help. So if you need to be matched up with one of those folks, just let us know. A great reminder to actually fill out your insider forum on the Omniverse community site, nvidia.com/omnivores.
And I just want to say, I have been working on getting some fun things together for the community insiders. So if you're not an insider, it's free. Just get on there, sign up for it, put whatever information you want in there. You can always log back in, take it out, add more, whatever you want to do. But we are getting ready to do a lot of fun things with our insiders. So I highly recommend that you get on there and sign up for it.
Very exciting. And there's actually one of the fields on the insider forum is, are you interested in contract work? That field is specifically so our team says, oh my gosh, this person does this, this, and this. And we have a company that's looking for this, this, this. So let's put them together. So let us do that. We also highly recommend you utilize a great platform that was formed by one of the previous members of TurboSquid, called cghero.com. cghero.com is a great place to actually add your information as your creator, developer, you're open for work, looking for work. There are great companies like Ubisoft and Disney and others that are actually going to that website and looking for people to bring on their team to a contract or bigger projects. You don't pay anything as a developer creator that's making your services available. The people who are hiring you are the ones who pay. So it's totally free, cghero.com. We're going to have those guys on the live stream upcoming. We'll show that off too. There's actually a cool checkbox there if you have experience with Omniverse and OpenUSD.
I have a couple thoughts for consultants, folks.
Yes.
For all of you out there. There's seems like there's two big areas of opportunity. One is there's companies who have hired up teams to build Omniverse stuff. And so getting plugged in with those internal teams, like the WPPs of the world, and like there's a bunch of, you can sort of, I'm thinking about like, how do you search through LinkedIn to find these kinds of folks? And you'll see them talking about the work they're doing. So one is mating up with the teams that are internal. Those are a little bit harder because they're in the ramp up phase and trying to build their own internal centers of excellence. And it's a little bit harder to break into those unless you want to get hired, right? They're looking to hire people to build it up. Then there's the other group, which is sort of like every one of these big technological waves, like the being a mobile or this or whatever, where they're like, what's our strategy? And they're trying to figure out what is my company's strategy in this time. And they're looking at digital twin stuff or USD adoption stuff and all that kind of thing. And for those, what you do is look for the companies and look for the CTOs and the interns, because the CTOs and the interns are the ones who are out there exploring and getting their first bite of what this all is, and working with those folks to help them understand really rapidly what's going on is because the next step after that is they form a team, right? So they get in and they explore it and they understand it, and then they form a team, and now you're a part of the consulting angle on that side of it. So that's where I would sort of network in is any CTO or intern talking about this sort of space is a great place to get to know them.
That's a great way to close this show. Great advice. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody on today's show, especially Rafi for joining us from the community. And we will follow Rafi on that awesome project shortly. If you are not already following on LinkedIn, you're missing out. So go ahead and follow his LinkedIn page. Lots of great information posted there pretty much daily. If my memory serves me correctly, it's always the first thing that pops up when I wake up in the morning. So it's a pretty cool way to start my day. Anyway, so I want to thank everybody. We'll be back next week. And I mentioned earlier, Real Illusion's coming up. I think we're trying to nail down them for next week. So we should have John Martin on from Real Illusion next week. We'll talk about everything Real Illusion, iClone, OpenUSD, and I know we have a lot of people in the community that leverage their great app. So Let's have some fun next week. Until then, have a great rest of the day. Thanks again, everybody. We will see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.